Welcome back to another video. This is RBC Mr. Rhodes, and for this video, this game dev tip video, I want to share how I deal with perfectionism and how perfectionism can ruin your game. So let's first talk about how can perfectionism ruin your game. And it can ruin your game because if you just fixate on trying to make one thing or everything perfect, you'll never finish your game and you'll end up burning out before you get even close to finishing your game. And what this can look like is if I'm drawing a sprite and I just keep fixing it over and over again, and I never accept that it's good enough, then you'll never finish it. It will never be good enough if you're trying to make it perfect, and you won't finish your game in the long run. Even if you do eventually finish that piece of artwork that you're working on, because then the next thing you're working on, you're gonna want it to be perfect. So that's how perfectionism can ruin your game. And so the first thing I want to talk about is work towards excellence, not perfectionism. And what I mean by this is set high standards for your work, but allow yourself to have flaws. It's okay to have flaws, but having overall high standards is good, because no one's perfect, and people have strengths, people have weaknesses, and you have to be able to accept your shortcomings when it comes to game development. So for me, I accept that my artwork isn't the greatest, but once I accept that my artwork isn't the greatest, I can focus on building better code and better systems to use my not so great artwork and have that code kind of carry the artwork, the lack of artwork. And so what I kind of touched on, like prioritizing efforts, I prioritize having stronger code and systems to have the actual gameplay better and feel better and be more fun, even though the artwork isn't the greatest. And the best way to kind of start getting into not being a perfectionist is you gotta be alright with good enough. You gotta be able to say, alright, this is good enough, let me start doing this next thing. Because if you can't accept good enough, you'll never finish your game. Like I said, you'll just try to make everything perfect. And the next thing you're going to want to do is just playtest your game, because what playtesting can do is you get other people's opinion, and even if you don't think it's good enough because you want it to be perfect, it could still be that most people actually like your game even though you don't think it's good enough, which this is what playtesting helps with. It makes you realize that your game is good the way it is. You can move onto something else instead of obsessing over whatever it is you want to make perfect. And when you have these playtests, just have these people rate your game 0 out of 10. And what you want to do is you want to have an acceptable score. So for example, you'll accept a 7 out of 10, and then you can have an aspirational score, which would be 9, maybe 10 out of 10, which that's kind of like the dream score you want to get, but you would accept a 7 out of 10. Anything lower than a 7 out of 10, then yeah, you're going to want to work on that, but 7 out of 10 or higher, you're perfectly fine with. And you're going to want to have them rate each separate thing on its own, so that way you can have your priorities, and if you know, like I said, I know that my artwork isn't good. If they rate your artwork a little lower, I mean, in all reality, your acceptable score for your artwork is probably lower because you know that's your shortcoming. So it just goes back to knowing your shortcomings and having priorities when it comes to playtesting, and what you want each thing to be rated and what your acceptable ratings for each thing is. And the next thing is you need to be able to self-judge yourself without letting perfectionism get in your way. And a good question to ask yourself is, does this piece of work represent me? Would I be proud if I released the current state of the game, and would I be proud of myself? And if you say, yeah, I would still be proud of myself, then there's nothing wrong with the current state of your game. Obviously, if your game isn't done, then you shouldn't be at this stage of asking if you'd be proud, because if you want it to be done, but you don't want to be obsessing over a done product that you think could be better. It's just, would I be proud if I released it right now? It's better to disappoint others than yourself. So if you can be proud of a product, it's better to be proud of a product and other people don't like it, than for you to hate a product and other people like it. Just make sure you are proud of what you did. And the last thing, kind of a bonus tip I want to give you guys is practice mental time travel. And what this looks like is, how would your past self view your current achievements? So like for me, when I think back to, would my past self be proud of my achievements, or what would my past self think of my current achievements? And my past self would be enthused. They would love that I started a game dev channel and that I'm sharing what I'm working towards, what my dreams, and my past self would love that I am working on games, because back in the day, I wanted to, me and my brother and my cousins always talked about wanting a YouTube channels, just because every kid wants to have a YouTube channel. But now I actually have a YouTube channel sharing what I love to do, and that's what I think my past self would think of my current achievements. And just again, would your past self be proud? And yes, I believe my past self would be proud. If you want to see more game dev videos, look up to the top left for the most recent video, and for the most recent devlog video, look to the top right. And this is RBC Mr. Rhodes signing off for now.